lot of moving parts for Masayoshi Son's SoftBank. The company had some pretty good results this week, but it's in the stages of preparing an IPO of its mobile business in Japan, and it's also got all these investments in the Vision Fund. Richard, it's hard to keep track, but
well, and investors have a tough time keeping track too, as you know, we've pointed out, other people have pointed out. This company trades at a big discount to the sum of its pieces, right? If you try to value like the mobile business and some of the investments and all that separately, add them all up, they come to a much higher number than you get from the share price of the company.
And also where analysts are pegging is, the target price for the company is, again, a huge number above. I think it's something like 14,000 yen. It's now trading at somewhere much lower than that. And this has been a perennial problem for them. And part of the reason for this mobile IPO is to try and sort of chisel away at that a bit.
Right, and it works, at least sometimes it works, and this is why companies do this. They spin pieces off, then people are supposed to be able to look at that piece, say, right, I understand that piece, I can give that piece full value, so that feeds through into giving the whole sort of conglomerate something closer to full value too. You have other problems with SoftBank, of course, including this giant Vision Fund, which is backed by Saudi Arabia, but the whole structure, exactly where different investments sit, what they're really worth, that kind of thing, is also a little opaque.
Yeah, I mean, so you spent some time trying to unpick this week. Like, what did you find? I mean, because they do disclose a decent amount about what's going on, and they came out with the results this week. But, it's not all quite clear.
No, and some of it is surprising and a bit confusing, especially, you hear people talk about SoftBank Vision Fund is going to invest in X or Y company. In fact, one announcement earlier this year, General Motors autonomous driving unit, which is called GM Cruise, 2.25 billion investment in stages that was supposed to come from the Vision Fund. Now, in the end, it didn't come from the Vision Fund, it came from SoftBank. Now, there are reasons why, for example, a big Uber investment, a big Uber stake is through SoftBank, not the Vision Fund. It may move to the Vision Fund eventually. But these things are a little confusing. We look at it and say, well, the whole idea of the Vision Fund is to hold and make all these new investments, and yet it's not actually doing all of them. And it's still quite young, so this will hopefully work through the system.
But there is the conflicts problem. You mentioned the Uber thing. Part of the problem with that is that the Saudi investment fund is invested directly in Uber. Right. It's also the biggest investor, I think, in the Vision Fund. Right. And then they move these investments around, and how they get transferred and what valuations is the real sort of conflict question.
Right, and we assume that is sort of addressed somewhere in the documents of the Vision Fund itself, but that hasn't yet at least been fully disclosed to the public. I mean, the Vision Fund is a separate fund. It's not publicly listed. It's a private fund, but it is a big piece of SoftBank's value, and SoftBank is a publicly listed company. So you can see why investors would want to know that. When it comes to move Uber into the Vision Fund, what is it really worth is going to be a really interesting question.
Well, it's certainly the whole valuation question of SoftBank is something we'll keep an eye on, and we will be back with more breaking views next week.